Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it's different than any other type of tourism. I mean, tourism is tourism.
Could you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Adventure activities for probably 40 years.
Any specific opportunities or challenges?
You know, how are the roads? What does health and hygiene look like? Because a high value, low volume form of tourism.
Can you share your impressions about Recon trip that happened this year in June?
I always like to say travel is the greatest educator.
Hello everyone, today I will be talking with Russel Walters, Destination Director, North America, Adventure Travel Trade Association. Hello, thank you for coming. Could you please tell us a little bit about yourself and about ATTA?
Yeah, I mean, I've been fortunate to be involved in in adventure and professional adventure activities for probably 40 years. In my own world, I own a business in the United States, but I'm also very lucky to work with the ATTA, the Adventure Travel Trade Association, to sort of bring best practices and networking and standards around the globe. The ATTA is an organization that, at its core, its mission is to protect nature, to protect culture, and create shared economic value. So that shared economic value should be the values of both bringing money into the community and allowing the tour companies that provide those things to make a profit and do good business.
And let's talk about the term adventure travel, adventure tourism. How is it different from any other type of tourism?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it's different than any other type of tourism. I mean, tourism is tourism. We go visit a country, we go visit a place, and we travel there. And I always like to say travel is the greatest educator. So that is something I think we're proud of, is bringing people to a country. But the way we define adventure travel is that it really has to be consisting of three things. So in nature, with culture, and with activity. So it's those three things: nature, activity, and culture. And culture can be, you know, it can be as rich as our past culture, our religious culture, and it can also include our crafts and our foods and our local customs. And I think when you weave all those three things together, you kind of get this rich experiential idea of travel, where people go to a place and they really get deep into the place and really try to understand it and understand the local communities that they're visiting.
Let's talk about the USAID Business Support Project. What is it, and what's the relationship between USAID and ATTA?
Yeah, the ATTA is a subcontractor. The USAID Business Support Project is a 5-year project across a number of sectors, I believe textiles and ICT and green economy. And our sector is obviously tourism. And so we were brought in as global experts for the USA group here in Tashkent to help sort of develop the capacity and the professionalism and really understand the landscape. The ATTA represents 1,400 members across the globe. And so we can use, you know, our knowledge, our learning to share with the community here in Uzbekistan and really create a readiness and a capacity to be able to accept what we call the right tourists, I guess. You know, what we're really looking to do is create a high value, low volume form of tourism. Tourism already exists very successfully here in Uzbekistan. I mean, you have the religious tourism and the cultural tourism and all the aspects of the Silk Road. But even there, I think you're finding that, you know, at some times of the year, it can get very crowded. And I think the opportunity here with these, you know, magnificent landscapes and this magnificent culture and the wonderful villages is to use the cultural tourism aspect people will come to visit. Uzbekistan is well known for that cultural tourism, but add on a component of going out into the countryside, perhaps the rural regions, and explore the villages and explore the crafts and the foods of those local regions. So it's not about one type of tourism over another. It's actually about blending the adventure sector, the active sector, into this already very rich cultural form of tourism that you have existing here.
Can you share your impressions about Recon trip that happened this year in June?
Yeah,
what were your findings?
A colleague and myself, we knew nothing about Uzbekistan. So we before we could make some plans and make some ideas, we really needed to come and explore. Mm-hmm. And I guess that's part of the benefit of my job, is that we get to do those things. And you know, I was overwhelmed by, I think we both were, overwhelmed by just the generosity of spirit. Mm-hmm. And the how friendly people were, particularly when we got into the mountain villages or the rural communities. I mean, oftentimes we would be exploring places just to, you know, and the things we were looking for were, you know, how are the roads? What does health and hygiene look like? Because people, the type of traveler that we're bringing here, they're very conscious about safety. Mm-hmm. And safety comes in a lot of things. It comes in, you know, hard safety. So, you know, if we're going off doing adventurous things, are the bikes well maintained? How are the horses going to react? Or any of those things. And those are a safety piece in and of themselves. But also, you know, the safety of hygiene. And are people going to feel safe walking around? How will they be received by visitors? So that was what we were doing on that reconnaissance, and we were just blown away by people's friendliness. I mean, oftentimes we would have a schedule which would have us doing a trip and then coming back to town and then going on to the next place. And I don't think we ever made the schedule one day out of 14, because we would be in a village and somebody would bring us into their guest house, and we would have to eat creams and breads, or they would offer us creams and breads and juices and fruits, and they're just so sharing and so warm and genuine. And I think that's going to translate and be really well received by the sort of traveler that we're looking to bring in.
Well, following that, do you think that there are any specific opportunities or challenges for developing adventurous tourism in Uzbekistan?
I mean, I hate to start. I'll start with challenges first. I think that
you mentioned about some standards and safety.
Yeah, I think naturally, the first challenge I see is that naturally, Uzbeks are not a nation that really goes off and explores deep themselves in adventure. They don't do a lot of hiking or biking. It's coming as younger people get involved in this and read about what's going on in the rest of the world. We're seeing those sorts of things start to happen. But I think older populations don't tend to do that. So I think there's we've really got to make sure that there's an outdoor culture in the places that we're taking people to. And with that outdoor culture comes a real focus on good quality standards, so that, I mean, one standard is language, right? So that people can be understood. Another standard is really just how to prepare people to be in the outdoors. Do they have enough water? Is there an emergency plan in place if somebody was to twist an ankle or become dehydrated? How do we prepare guests to be in the outdoors in Uzbekistan? I mean, let's not just send them out into the wilds. Let's make sure that they've got the right clothing, the right footwear. They've got water. Their guide knows where they're going. And so I think those are we have a process that we like to use. And I'd just been here for 3 days training a group of about 42 local tour operators, local guides in the sort of the process that we use. And, you know, it involves safety risk management, obviously. product development, making sure that the types of experiences that we're developing are suitable for the visitors and not too much of a stretch and not too much of a reach. And ideally, we're going to go through this process and start with training and safety, and then we're going to work towards product development, so developing the right routes, developing the right infrastructure, connecting transportation systems, connecting emergency medical and management systems. And then from that, we can start to invite certain media, certain journalists, certain tour operators from around the globe to experience Uzbekistan for themselves and get their opinions and have them share their ideas. And once we've got those and we're building content, then I think we can start to take selected Uzbek companies out onto the global stage to invite the world to come and experience, Uzbekistan for themselves.
Let's talk about the potential of adventure tourism for Uzbekistan.
It's a pure form of economic trade. People are bringing their dollars, their money into the country to experience these things. And one of the things that we know about adventure tourism is that about 65% of the value of the money that was exchanged by the tourist in creating their vacation stays in country. So, it stays to pay for transportation and food and local guides and local guest houses. So it's a way to help those communities, protect their crafts as well, because the adventure tourist is looking to be active, but they want to also experience, the silk and the weaving and the pottery and all of the local things that are going on. They want to, perhaps hike in the morning and go off and do a mastercraft session in the afternoon and learn about local foods and what have you. So I think it weaves all of those different things together. And as I think I said before, I mean, we're trying to create this high value tourist, a tourist that wants to learn a little bit about the culture and wants to get deep in the culture and be hands-on, rather than just driving through at a fast pace and not really understanding and interacting with the local community.
Tell us about the trainings you had in Tashkent.
Yeah.
And planned trips to Navoi and Nuratam.
Yes.
What are your expectations and what was the training like?
We were very pleasantly pleased and surprised by the reaction to the training. I mean, the training was, the Committee for Tourism of Uzbekistan was very supportive of bringing people to the training along with the BSP project. And so those two entities did a lot of the work in making sure that they invited a large part of the travel community in Uzbekistan to the training here in Tashkent. It was the first time we've done something like this in Uzbekistan. And generally when we do these trainings, it relies on the fact that we have our training materials together and we have an agenda to go through, but it relies on the fact that the community is also there to share and give of themselves and to network amongst each other. And sometimes people don't do that. They sometimes in some countries they're a little bit stand back and they don't want to give of themselves and feel like they might be giving away their secrets or working with their competitors. We saw nothing of that here in Uzbekistan. People from day one, people were sharing ideas and telling people about things that are going on, and every time we had a break, the whole group of 40 people all kind of hung out together and had their coffee and their sandwiches and their amazing Uzbeki pastries together. And so it was really nice to see that group come together. And, an outcome of that is they put together their own Telegram channel to stay in touch with each other over the course of this journey, this 4-year journey of the rest of the training and the activation programs. And then tomorrow I'm traveling to Navoi, and The type of people that were invited to the first training were mostly current tour operators, some of them with a focus on adventure, some of them more of the cultural tour operator that is looking for perhaps an expansion of their project or their product and looking at other opportunities. So it was mostly, and there were some governmental people along, from the various regions to see how they can help promote this in their regions. And so that was the sort of the profile of the person that was at this particular training. The Navoi training is intended mostly for what we might call local guides. So in the villages, in the regions, there's oftentimes young people that, a Sprinter van might show up from Samarkand with 14 travelers and a professional guide, and then the professional guide will hand them over to a local guide, a young person, to take them off to maybe do a hike or go see some handicraft. And so it's really important that we help professionalize the younger people in the villages too, because they're the delivery point. They're really at the sharp end of being ambassadors for their local regions, for their local towns, for their local for their local areas. And so we wanted to try and experiment really and see how we could train those local younger people over 2 days. And that training will be 1 day in a classroom, very similar to what we just did here in Tashkent, and then 1 day out in the field to practice some of the things that we've been learning. The beauty of it is a number of the professional tour operators that were in Tashkent have decided they would also like to come along to the training. So we're going to be able to have this beautiful marriage of some young people, some new people, along with mentors and guides and tour operators that are been established and in business. And so we're really hoping that this starts the development of this sort of overall community that can advocate for itself as an adventure travel community, that can work with local regions, that can work with local governments, can obviously work with the tourism committee, and perhaps agencies like USAID and other agencies, other donor groups that are in country right now, and sort of building out the capacity of all that's going on.
And during the training, you mentioned about the trip to Chile and Europe for 5 tour operators.
Yeah. So as part of, I think I mentioned, there's a pathway. So there's a pathway of training that starts with standards and product development, and then actually there's the people that were trained in the Tashkent training have an opportunity to do their own individual self-paced online learning. So we have an entire library of educational materials that cover some of these things in greater depth. Could be marketing, could be product development, could be safety risk management, and we give the participants the opportunity to do that, on their own, to really dive deep into some of these things. And then there's another component. So this is a multi-layered approach. It's not just what I call one and done. We're not just here, do the training, go, bye, see ya, because that won't do any good. This is really a 4-year process. We're in 1 year into this 5-year process, so the 4-year process left. And then we'll be doing some mentorship. So each of these companies will have specific questions and specific needs for themselves that perhaps they didn't feel comfortable raising their hand in a classroom training session, but we'll be able to work with them on a one-on-one basis. So we'll be doing that. And then the next stage is, as I say, where we bring those tour operators and media into the country. Once we've been through all of this sort of assessment and what's going on and who's really prepared, who's really done their homework, who's studied their materials and has participated and has the capacity to go out of country and start to represent Uzbekistan on the global stage. So we have two opportunities. One is to take 5 Uzbeki tour operators to an event in Europe that's called Adventure Elevate. It's an event that we put on, which is about 350 global tour operators meet in Europe, and they go through this process of networking, sharing best practices, and then a marketplace. So where they're looking for what is the new place, what's an undiscovered place, and obviously Uzbekistan comes out as one of those places. So there will be 5 opportunities for tour operators to do that, and then another 5 opportunities for selected tour operators to go to what's called the Adventure Travel World Summit, which is in Chile in October, which is about 850. And 850 members all coming together to see what's new, how is the industry developing, and it's a great opportunity to connect globally with your colleagues and meet people that are really interested in bringing their guests, their travelers here to Uzbekistan.
In your opinion, what are the global trends in adventure tourism currently, and what Uzbeks can learn from these trends?
I think global trends clearly people have an awareness of sustainability. So, how are we treating our landscapes? How are we treating the environment? So that's something. Off of our trends research from last year, there's one in there. One of the top 5 is to travel like a local. So to be at a slower pace and really immerse and engage in a community, to be active in the sort of the craft side of things. Hiking, biking are 2 other of the, I think, at least the top 5 or 10 trends. So we've got hiking, biking, travel like a local. The number one trend is to discover new places and
like hidden gems.
Yeah, and so Uzbekistan has all of those things. The trick is going to be, the opportunity is, how do we make sure that we do that responsibly? How do we invite people to the country to explore and discover this place in a responsible manner, so that we're not just sending people out into nature with unprepared guides and into unprepared regions that aren't really. So that's why I'm excited about the fact that this is a 5-year process, because it's going to take that, and then we continue the cycle. Next year there'll be more trainings. We hope. I think there will be more trainings, more people going to travel to events, and generally we'll see sort of an entire network of providers and support people and government get excited about this form of tourism.
Okay, and are there specific products or experiences in Uzbekistan that you believe have untapped potential?
Oh, there's so many. I really think connecting with the mountain guest houses is something that I think is a real untapped potential. They're so unique. There's already been work done to professionalize a lot of them. I myself stayed in one in Yurta last year, and we left from the place and went hiking late one afternoon, and the sun was going down. And it was magical, and so I think that sort of experience, almost like a homestay experience, is one of the opportunities.
What has been your most memorable adventure?
In Uzbekistan?
No.
Oh.
From all of your experience.
Oh boy.
You have 40 years.
Yeah.
Of
I was very fortunate a number of years ago to travel to Fiji to work with the Fijian government to create an adventure travel company. It was specifically whitewater rafting. And we had a 5-year project to help create this company that would ultimately be owned 100%, would ultimately owned by 51% by local Fijians. And so just to be involved in that we were right in the heart of Fiji. Fiji is known as this sort of island paradise, and yet nobody went into the interior. And so we were the ones that were going into the interior. I think I was one of the first, 5 or 10 humans that went down this particular wonderful, wonderful river, and just the smile on the local people's face and the way they were able to weave their culture with their nature into the adventure experience was really good. And I think the opportunity exists to do something similar here. I mean, when I think about some of the landscape that my colleague and myself experienced last time we were here, and we were both marveling at some of the opportunities for mountain biking, for example, for road biking. I know there's other places in Europe and that you can do these things, but can you do it with the same cultural overlay that you have here? And that's the thing. I think the opportunity is for somebody to have both of those experiences, an adventure experience with a cultural experience.
Right. Thank you for your insights. It was a pleasure to talk to you, and I hope your project will be a huge success in Uzbekistan.
Great.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.